Haim Israel, the managing director and global strategist over at Bank of America. Great to be speaking with you.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Haim, you have quite a job. Your job is to predict the future. Explain how you go about doing that, because it feels these days that we've been living through years that now, looking back at it, felt pretty unpredictable.
Yes. Well, first of all, before I answer this question, we need to ask what is the future? So, yes, this is my job in Bank of America. I need to look 10, 20, even 30 years down the line and understand what are the big mega trends which are impacting our lives, the big global trends which are here to stay and going to impact our life, good or bad. But this is the question. What is really the future? And the way that I analyze it, the way that I research it is understanding one thing which is coming very evident. The future is not what we've been learned, what we've been taught it is. There is no long term and short term anymore. There is no short term at all. And the long term is the new short term. Things are accelerating faster and faster. Things will accelerate much faster going forward. We're just at the beginning of the revolution.
So I just want to stop you there. So from your perspective, if it feels like history is moving faster, it is because it is.
It definitely is. We're living in a world that things are accelerating. We're just at the beginning of the preview of the revolution. Things are going to accelerate even faster than here. So it's not just our feeling that things are moving faster. And as you said, we are now living years in days. This is the new reality that we're in. Data, flow of data, technology, events, information, everything is moving so much faster. And we are just at the edge of the beginning of this.
And when you talk about the revolution, what do you mean by the revolution?
The revolution is a technological revolution. It depends how you look at it, but we are looking at it right now. We call it Industry 6.0. If we look at how the recent technological revolution that ever happened on our planet, ever since humanity discovered fire, depends who you ask, 1 million years ago, to get to the first technological revolution, which was the agricultural revolution, it took 400,000 years. The second one, the Industrial Revolution, roughly around 12,000 years. Then Industry 3.0, roughly 150 years. Then another 50 years, then another 10 years. And now in 5 years, we're moving to what we call Industry 6.0, which is where we are integrating humans and machines, where we are now, we call it the humanization revolution, where there's no real boundaries between machines and human. And this is the big revolution that we're in. The data revolution, which is really at the backbone of all of this, is just accelerating faster and faster. We live in a world that we're creating so much data, so much information and we can use it now that we are moving in warp speed.
Yeah, I mean, just that historical perspective was pretty remarkable. 400,000 years before we went from hunter-gathering to farming in communities, and then things sped up over time with the Industrial Revolution. So if you were going headed towards 6.0, we're in 5.0 right now. What is 5.0, our current world, defined by?
Yeah, that's the digitalization revolution, where we are now starting to use AI, starting to use machine and integrating them more and more in our work. The next level is going to be that those boundaries, now we are controlling it. We are building it, we are designing it, we are doing everything. And definitely this is going to be part of our life. The 6.0, which we are about to enter this decade, in the next couple of years, is that those boundaries are starting to change with the AI revolution, and it became very blurry where the human stops and the machine starts. This is the question we need to ask ourselves.
Are there examples of that already where you're seeing indications of what 6.0 looks like?
Oh, yes, definitely. I'm seeing that in how we are using AI today, the new tools and the new apps that are being developed by AI. So to understand that, first of all, we need to understand a key mistake that we keep doing with AI, that all of us are doing with AI. When we are talking about AI, and I'm sure the audience right now, which are listening to us, they think about ChatGPT. They think about Gemini's, Copilot, Midjourney, all those Claude, all those different applications, DeepSeek. This is not what it's all about. This is only one application. This is just one simple application in the revolution. To say AI is all about ChatGPT is to say, no, we built the internet revolution to have Spotify. or we build the mobile revolution to book an Uber. This is not what it's all about. It's only one app. There are much, much bigger applications over here. Rich simulations, which are now discovering drugs and research, deep research, which are now breaking down tasks in ways that humans could never ever done in the past and shortening time, disease research, everything that AI is doing for us, which are so much bigger and mean so much to humanity than a DeepSeek, ChatGPT, Copilot, and so on. So we are entering into this phase. And to give you a very simple example about what we are talking about, where the boundaries between human and machines are changing, is what probably the revolution of 2025 is the agentic AI revolution. When we are starting to use AI agent in our workplace, and those AI agents, the revolution in agentic AI is not just give us information. We have that. That's been known. We all know that. Is to start doing stuff for us, starting to communicate between us. So think about that I want to build a marketing campaign. I know what for some kind of food, beverage, whatever. And I can go to my employee and discuss, brainstorm, start build a campaign, build focus groups and whatever. Or I can go to my agent and say, listen, I need marketing campaign for product X or product Y. And this agent automatically will screen all the information inside my organization, what's available outside, will build a marketing campaign, we'll put it on TikTok, we'll analyze the data, we'll analyze it back, we'll find it, we'll put it back there, we'll then decide it's not the right place to put it and communicate with my bank agent, and we'll pay Facebook agent and put it on Facebook and analyze the data back to me and fine tune it, and then start with the first key people, the first product out there, and what's the information, analyze it back, bring back it to me. The revolution on where we don't see the boundaries anymore is this. Everything that I've described to you can happen 24 hours, maybe, fragile of a cost, guaranteed result. And humans didn't do it. So I will probably need to pull the trigger and decide whether to put yes or not. Or that's also a question whether I do it or the machine under some kind of algorithm that I will expand to it will do it on its own. But we are moving from a model that AI was a SaaS model, software as a service, to a model of RAS, result as a service. AI is no longer the software. AI is the result, is the outcome. This is where the boundaries are now very blurry between what people are doing to what the machines are doing. And this is where the revolution that we are entering in, and we're already there, by the way.
So this is what you're calling agentic AI.
Agentic AI.
And how long does that last for? Or this is just the beginning of, I mean, the example you cited there, that's like replacing several humans potentially who are on your team.
Oh yes, we are many humans. We are, some experts that we talked in the past are saying, no, maybe we are moving to a very different structure of companies. We don't need all those people. We actually need only 3 people in the organization. So some experts that we spoke in the past saying you need a CEO, you need a CTO, you need a chief scientist. That's really all you need. AI can really cover all the rest. But this revolution is just starting. 2/3, according to our surveys and some data that we put in our research, roughly 2/3 of global companies are already testing, checking, working, analyzing, some already implementing agentic AI in their process. It's in very early stage, but this is going to be massive. This is going to change all of the workplace. It's going to change almost everything.
So agentic AI right now, the regular consumer through ChatGPT and DeepSeek, etc., doesn't have access to agentic AI.
No, not yet. But some companies already start to implement them. So, but when I'm going in and working on my ChatGPT and the likes or DeepSeek, I know I don't have access to it. It's what the big vendors are building for me as an organization.
As we talk about the role that this combination between technology and humans, and potentially a lot of humans, millions or tens of millions of humans losing their jobs as part of this revolution, what are the societal impacts here, Haim? What do governments need to be doing to retrain their workforces? And, I know one of the arguments that is made is there was this great fear about the internet doing this several decades ago. But ultimately, we discovered that some people lost their jobs, some people had to discover new jobs. And at the same time, people were losing jobs, it was creating jobs. is the sense that AI will do the same?
Yes, and I'm a big believer in what you said, that eventually every technological revolution that we've seen, eventually at the end of the line, created more jobs than jobs that were dismissed, but they were going to be very different jobs, will need very different skills.
Right, right. I mean, we could go back to the Industrial Revolution and the various revolutions over the last 100 years, right?
You read, it's funny because if you read all the articles back in the 80s when the ATM revolution, something that we're not even using ATMs anymore, but something which is very common, all the articles were suggesting at the time that this is going to be the financial industry killer, the bank killer. No, what are bankers going to do? They're not going to give you cash. They're not going to cash checks. What are they going to do? And guess what happened? The number of jobs in the financial industry shot up dramatically because apparently it was not that effective and was not that the best use of time for bankers to give money in the counter. I think that's what's going to happen this time around, but there's a big but. This revolution is happening so fast that the job market will have to adjust itself in speeds that we've never seen in the past. You gave a great example about the internet. The internet revolution is starting in the mid 90s. So we had roughly 30, give or take 30 years that we have this revolution and jobs were created. There were cycles, there was a dot-com bubble, it came back forth. So there was some time. This revolution is happening so fast in warp speed. And by the way, without the internet revolution, we'll never get here. We'll never be where we are today. That we believe that more jobs will be lost before new jobs will be created. And we'll need very, very different skills. In the internet revolution, past revolution said, okay, you know what? I'm going to go and learn the new stuff, the new technology, and I will be fine. And that could be used to my jobs. This time around, those apps, those agents can replace me. So the stuff that I will need are very, very different. When that you ask the right questions about government. That put a spotlight on the education system. I don't need to be book smart anymore. In a device like this, in my mobile phone today, I have the best information out there, can be analyzed. I can do it. I have access to everything. And now, unlike history, it's just an app. I know I don't need to go and search the internet and work days and days. It's an app. Give you the best information out there. It's getting better and better all the time. So I don't need to be book smart anymore. I don't need to memorize. I don't need a lot of skills that I've needed in the past. I don't need all those graduates. I need creativity. I need social skills. I need to think out of the box. I'm a big believer that AI will bring all the humans element out of us because you think about it, I need social skills. I need to know how to interact with people. AI can't do it yet. It can, it will in the future, but still those personal relations, those politics, conversation, humor, everything that we use today, we need it. Whoever will have social skills in the future will have such a big advantage compared to a Harvard top-notch graduate. Social skills, that's all I need. I need creativity. I need those kind of stuff.
So I mean, what you're describing is wholesale change, both in our like primary, secondary, high school, but also university education in terms of what we're educating. Because we've spent, I mean, our experiences, Haim, going to school was memorizing, taking tests, memorizing, taking tests. I mean, you probably grew up in a similar era where we were told by the teachers like there won't be a calculator in life. You need to understand those equations. Well, now we carry around a calculator with us, right? It's just one example.
Yes, exactly. So it's exactly this. No, we don't need to memorize anymore. The sad thing, we don't need to think about in all the traditional way. We don't need all those models that we were taught in school. And the sad thing is most of the education systems in the world are still working on this kind of operation. And some interesting stats that and that was, by the way, this stat is relevant to before the AI revolution. I don't have an updated number that the gap between the job market and the global education system is somewhere around 20 to 30 years. And that was before the AI revolution. As I said, I do not have an updated number as of now. My guess is no, it's double or triple at least, if not even more. Yes, I need very, very different skills. More than that, if I'm sticking to the old models and which are changing so fast, I actually could be a disadvantage to my organization. Things are moving in warp speed. I need completely different skills going forward. As a result, we are seeing that more and more organizations in the world, from the tech level, financial industry, consumer, everything, are now opening their recruitment to outside of universities because for now realizing that the skills are very different. So there are two trends. First of all, a very, very different way of recruiting people, very different approach of recruiting people. And the second thing is what we call, and that's all over the world right now, what we call the junior crisis. Organizations don't recruit juniors. So maybe don't is, do not recruit juniors is is a big word, but no, the levels of hiring in the junior level have went down dramatically.
Junior meaning straight out of school, meaning the youngest rung.
Yes, yes, because A, they don't have the experience that I need, and I need now experience, a lot of experience. B, AI can do a lot of the stuff. Think about what an intern in a law firm is doing. Like, he's going over a lot of red tape, probably missing a lot of it, and spending all of his or her time on that. AI can do it so much faster. There's every day, there are 5,000 court cases in the United States every day. Now, what an intern is doing, an intern is have to go all over all those 5,000 every day and understand them for the next case. There's no way humans can do that. So I can pay a lot of interns, or I can pay a fragile of a cost to an AI agent will do it. 100% accuracy. 92% of all court cases lost in courts are because of I do not have the right information or I misinterpreted the information. AI solved this problem. So I don't need the interns anymore. But that's created a different problem. Of course, it's a social problem. And it creates what will happen when I will retire or I will be fired. There's no bench. So there's a lot. We learn as we go. There's a lot of challenges here.
Well, I mean, that's a huge challenge because what does that mean for Gen Z and potentially Alpha generation? Where will their first job be if there's no lowest rung of jobs anymore?
Yes, it will be very different jobs. There's a lot of new jobs which I think are going to hit the market next, like ethic coders or data coders and on those stuff which we need to think about, math, statistics, all this stuff which is AI related. The one that's making a huge comeback there are two ranges. The first one we call the empathy market. So we spoke about the social skills, psychology, social workers, nurses, doctors, all this stuff is making a huge comeback because you still need the right interaction with people that AI might give me in the future, but not. And the third one, which is huge comeback, is the blue collar economy, or as we call it, the finger economy, because AI, robotics, automation is amazing and doing some stuff, but it can analyze the entire 5,000 court cases and give you the best results of a math model, but still can't change my light bulb. Still can't open my clogged sink. So we need to think about that. And by the way, today plumbers and electricians are making more money in New York than lawyers. That's a known fact. They're already making more money.
Yeah, no, I mean, and we have a major shortage. I mean, I'm the son of a cabinet maker. So I grew up in his cabinet shop, definitely not as skilled as my father, but I take pride in the fact that I can fix basic things around the house. But when you try to hire out for these things, they can charge a pretty penny here in the US because we have a shortage of those workers. There's a shortage of people willing to do those jobs. But now, as you lay out, there's so much money there that there's now an incentive to returning to those jobs, when for decades now we've been saying, no, go get an education so you don't have to do those jobs anymore.
And that's a very interesting question because I don't have an answer. Do I prefer my son to be an Ivy League graduate, which will struggle? Or do I want my son or daughter to be a plumber or electrician, which I know will have a lot of demand in the future? That's a question. I don't have answers, but for decades, we didn't need to ask this question. Now we do.
Fascinating. We're talking AI here. I have one more question related to it, which is just the amount of power and water, the amount of energy that goes into AI. There's a lot of talk of data processing centers. It comes at the same time, Haim, we're talking about climate change. Talk about the back end infrastructure, the stuff that we don't see, and what that's going to require in the US and globally in order to basically power this revolution.
This is such a valid question. We call it the theme of more. we will need more of everything. A lot of things that which I'll say in a second that we didn't even think about that we need. We're moving from the world of transition to the world of addition. We will need more energy, natural resources. You touched based on energy. Energy is we need a lot of data centers. We require so many more data centers. We require roughly 50% more than what we have right now. By the way, if we will build all these data centers, all data centers will require more land than Singapore and will require more energy than Japan. This is what we are talking about, stuff that was not in the past. And if you think this is just far-fetched numbers, Abu Dhabi announced just a couple of days ago that they are about to build one of the biggest data centers in the world, which will be bigger than Monaco in terms of size, in terms of the amount of energy that it will need. So we need all of that, and that will require so much more energy. The example of how much more energy, the example that I give all the time is that if you take today the global electricity grid and you stretch it, it will get from Earth to the moon, from moon to Venus, from Venus back to the moon and back to Earth. It will do a full circle. In 10 years, this will have to double just because of the amount of energy that we will need. And we'll have to pump at least 30% more energy. That's 4 years worth of energy of the world every year. So that will be massive. So we'll need so many more energy resources, which will have to be cheap, will have to be scalable, will have to be independent. No, we just went through this crisis between Russia and Ukraine. Countries do not want to import oil anymore and energy anymore. That has been weaponized. So a lot of it is actually going to come from renewables. A lot of it is going to come from nuclear, which we are seeing now.
The revival of nuclear. Nuclear is back.
The big comeback of nuclear. The only negative on nuclear, that nuclear takes a very long time. Unlike renewable energy, which you can scale up in a year or so, nuclear you need anywhere between 5 to 10 years, assuming you have all the right permits and all the right planning. So we need so much more energy that I don't think we really understand. I said we're moving from energy transition to energy addition. We need more water. Fascinating fact, every 40 commands of ChatGPT drinks 1 liter of water. Every 40 commands. And by the way, 40 commands is only what I do every day.
That's like you and me using ChatGPT to ask basic questions. Every 40, it takes 1 liter of water.
1 liter of water for all those data centers and cooling and semis and everything around that. So think about the billions of commands a day out there across all the different apps. How much water? We got to the point 2025, this year, that 2/3 of the planet is facing severe water shortages because of the IT revolution. We need more water, we need more energy, we need more natural resources. For this revolution, we need more copper, more lithium, more tin, more fiber, all this stuff. We need so much more. So we have enough on our planet, but the IT revolution, this AI revolution sparked so fast that we are consuming it so fast that up until we're going to produce new mines in new ways, we can get to structural deficit in many of those materials. More technology will need human skills. There are not enough qualified people in the world to run and build those systems. It's extremely complicated. You only have a handful of people, and every country, by the way, every company are chasing them like crazy. I don't want to even discuss the salaries and packages that those people are getting.
So these are what, the data center architects or engineers?
Yes, AI engineers, developers, mathematicians, statisticals, all this stuff that are building AI models. And we need completely different human skills. So all of that is also one thing that is not being discussed enough, that we need more broadband. AI is generating so much data that all those 5G networks are getting clogged. All those networks we thought is going to come and change everything, and we have enough broadband. Networks are getting clogged. We need to invest in completely new architecture, 6G architecture, satellite architecture to increase broadband. So we are living massive scarcity of that. So basically we are moving to a world of investments, massive investment in new grid, infrastructure, resources of energy, water, utilities, everything to power the AI revolution. And governments are pushing for that. Governments have an incentive to move that way, unlike other revolutions, which either governments were very hesitant or taking their time. This time there's just no choice. We need to move very fast.
So what's so interesting about all this? I mean, this is a shock to the global system. I almost, as you lay it out there, Haim, I'm almost like we're gonna have to slow things down potentially because we just don't have the infrastructure for this. But this requires a major role by governments, and it comes as in your report, in your recent sort of trends report about 2030. We do already see this rise of populism here in the U.S., across the world. This sense that the globalization of the 90s and early 2000s had positives, but also had a lot of negative ramifications for individuals and countries. You drive through certain parts of America, what is termed the Rust Belt, places that used to do manufacturing that don't exist anymore. And you do see people in leadership, whether it's Donald Trump or the rise of various parties in Germany and France and a variety of places, that say, you know what, hit pause on all this. We need to focus on ourselves. So I'm curious as you look at the AI and technological revolution happening here, what does the backdrop of populism and what's happening politically in a lot of these countries, how does that impact all of it?
I think that one is feeding the other, and you're completely right. And the way to look at it is really this is the biggest revolution we are about to see. That's definitely I'm a big believer. This is bigger than the internet. It's bigger than the mobile revolution. And up to recently, this was an American technology. So the idea about the deglobalization and the idea that we need to defend ourselves and build boundaries around the technology was whoever controlled this technology, the algorithms, the IP, the infrastructure, everything around that has a huge lead, a massive lead all over the world. This is a game changer and can change world order. So the US was putting those boundaries, was saying, you want GPUs, you need to come to me, and I'll agree if you're going to get GPUs, yes or no. You want the IP, you want the models, you need to come to me. So we will see that, and I'm a big believer that AI will increase this protectionism approach by the countries which are leading the revolution. Now we are seeing that also coming from China with DeepSeek. So China is not that far behind, and we need then to think about it. Okay, so we're talking about I need to close boundaries, and deglobalization is accelerating. I need to think about my country first and put those boundaries around. Um, but it's all AI related. Am I moving from a model of a world order of East versus West? Am I moving to a new world order of what we call a ChatGPT versus a DeepSeek? ChatGPT being the keyword for westernized models versus the DeepSeek of most of countries will be pulled to each side or that. So this splinternet revolution that we always said, no, technology will be a big leader in this whole deglobalization, this new world order is happening as we see it right now. So the approach of I need to protect my country, I need to build everything in my country is going to be, I'm a big believer, it will be key going forward as well. And again, it's all AI related, it's all technology related.
But to get to where we need to go, it feels like we would get there faster if there was more cooperation, but it feels like we're in a world now where we're building walls. How does that impact things? And how does, the instability of recent years, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, October 7th, concern that the US taking a step back in the world, de-emphasizing NATO and these alliances, leaves the door open to a potential Chinese invasion of Taiwan? How do these trend lines play into where you see things going here?
It's all related. You're completely right. It's whoever controls this technology, whoever controls this revolution is controlling the world. So countries have to be. The idea is yes, you're completely right. We open our borders, we share information. Ideal world, it's amazing. All the information in the world is being shared. We know how it works. It probably will never work because I think that governments understanding that this could be, of course, this can be like a huge advantage. This could be also a big, could be weaponized, could be a lot of things over there. Think about that AI today is playing a key role in cybersecurity from one side, but from drug development on the other side. So if I'm controlling it, I have a huge, huge advantage. So we're actually seeing governments increasing the silos and not working that way, which leading to scarcity. You ask yourself why DeepSeek was born. DeepSeek was born because China had a scarcity or a lack of access to the recent AI technology. So they had to start developing their own.
And there's a sense that it wasn't all done legitimately, right? That they might have, I mean, there are various accusations that Chinese DeepSeek required some intellectual property theft.
I read a lot of stuff. I have to say, I didn't see a smoking gun up until now. So no, there was a lot of smoke, but I didn't see a smoking gun. So I read a lot of stuff like everybody else, but no, I didn't think anyone really proved anything yet. So I think that the approach should be, at least for now, up until we'll learn differently that this is legit and this model is legit. That's at least should be the mindset. If I'm developing the models on the other side, I cannot go and say, I just completely dismiss it because no, they are getting a lot of momentum. But no, this scarcity, you can say, no, okay, you know what? So DeepSeek was born. Competition starts. The models are going to get so much better. Investments are going to increase dramatically.
Competition leads to progress.
Yeah, it is a progress, and I'm a big believer that we'll see massive progress. And if you think about it, if you just took this timeline, that DeepSeek was introduced to the world, the amount of models we saw in the West that came out, the deep research models and all those models, the reasoning models and all this stuff was mind-boggling after that.
So things are moving faster and faster. But I'm curious again, as there's talk of tariffs, and if we take a step back, right, and look at human history, there was the Renaissance, but the Renaissance came out of the Dark Ages. And the Dark Ages was this very long period of time coming out of the Greeks and the Romans and the Egyptians and the Arab, and some of the developments that we still depend on today in terms of philosophy and and mathematics and all these various things that we had. But humans, we took ourselves to a very dark period for a very long time. And so I'm curious, as you make these predictions, to what extent, Haim, are you kind of looking at, how humans historically have interacted, how humans can be our own biggest enemy when it comes to some sort of this stuff? Because, what you lay out here is a very optimistic view of the world and what is possible. But it also, I'm sure your calculus is also like, but at the end of the day, we are humans.
Yes, there are a lot of risks. There's a revolution. We are heading into massive uncertainty. We are heading into a world that we've never ever seen in the past. As I said, as we discussed and we start our conversation, warp speed of developments, and we're not really sure. I always link to this phrase that history maybe does not repeat itself, but it rhymes quite well. It will be up to us. The technology is not bad. Technology is what we develop it to be. It's eventually up to humans to decide what they want to do in technology. Think about nuclear energy technology. Now it's an unlimited source of energy, clean, very, very cheap, could be scalable. But humans decided to create weapons with this technology. It was not the decision of the technology, it was the decision of humans to do that. There are massive challenges. In the thematic world, in the world that I'm in charge of, there's good, there's bad. I'm not trying to only outline an optimistic scenario. I'm very optimistic, but there are a lot of challenges. We're seeing AI today playing a big role in disinformation, in fake news, in deep fakes, in cybersecurity. AI is a big part of that today. No, we spoke about the social challenges with the job market, in which we don't know. Countries are in very different stages about how they approach AI right now. We see US, we see China, we see everybody else.
Do you get a sense as you look at different countries, is it going to be easier for developed countries, the most advanced economies? Is there sort of ironies here that depending on where your country is in the stage of the game, the AI revolution is going to be easier to adapt to versus more difficult?
I think it really comes down to government and how visionary governments are. I'm taking China and the US out of the equation because those two countries are by far the leaders and on top of the technology. But you've recently seen, the UAE, the Saudi Arabia. They are way, way in advance compared to anyone else. They understand the power of it. They're investing in GPUs, in infrastructure, in data centers, in the manpower, in the human skills, everything in order to build to build this revolution. You see Singapore, you see South Korea, you see Taiwan, you see to some extent Japan and UK. Most of the countries in the world, governments are still behind. We've seen that and I have to be very honest here and very open here. The private market started this revolution. It was not created, like the internet created in some lab somewhere.
Well, I mean, the internet, the origins of the internet came out of DARPA, came out of the Pentagon in the U.S.
Yes, this is not the case here. Private companies started. It was no Microsoft and OpenAI and all the. We're not going to go over all that started. So the private market, and this time around, the private market is embedded in the technology. Governments have to play a leading role, starting to work on this, ASAP. Otherwise, world economic order will change. The whole world order is about to change. So it's really this huge challenge to governments and the wake up call to many, many governments in the world.
Yeah, I mean, tens of millions of people losing their jobs over the course of the next decade. That's a shock to the system, and those are people who will be angry and whose economic livelihoods have changed, and they'll be looking to their governments very quickly for solutions, right?
Yes. Yes, and so I need to think about the social system. I need to think about the job market. I need to think about the education market. We spoke about all this stuff.
Yeah.
The challenges aren't precedented of what governments are facing worldwide right now.
As I speak to you, Haim, there was an interesting story out of Axios. There's a poll that came out asking Americans about AI, and a remarkable stat from Gen Z through Boomers. So they go through all the age groups, and it's anywhere from 65% to 90% say we would like companies to take AI creation more slowly to get it right. That is where, and it's fascinating because they're asking 18-year-olds this, and they're asking 70-year-olds this question. What hope, based on what you know about the private sector and how these things are moving, what can you tell the majority of Americans here about AI moving slower?
I would say two things. The first thing I said, I completely understand them, and maybe if you ask me, I would probably say the same thing because I also see the other side. I see the ethics. I see the no. We don't really understand those models, and we had a lot of examples which are scary about how the models are teaching themselves or breaking rules in ways that we've never ever predicted.
Right. The model's taking on a human-like ability to correct themselves. Yeah.
To correct themselves, to cheat in some design, to go around, to bend the rules, the models themselves, and they don't have the same ethics and stuff that we do. Sometimes it depends what we define them to do, but we see how the models are progressing. We don't fully understand them yet. But when I'm looking at what's going on in the world right now, and I'm seeing the adoption rate and I see the application every other day, I'm not even saying warp speed. I would probably say it's going to be horizontal at one point. Companies which will use AI are facing a lot of challenges, but I do see the returns. So I see a lot of investments, but I see massive returns. And we do know that when companies are making a lot of returns, the competition either follow or disappears. There's nothing in between. I do see massive adoption rate. I see governments pushing for that very fast. I see a lot of money for investments. It's not stopping. We call it the AI spring. The investments are coming back big time in the trillions, not even in the billions anymore. So although I definitely understand the argument about let's take it a little bit more slowly, let's rethink about it, I don't think it's happening. I saw that, I think it was a year ago, give or take, that some of the key developers and key people in the industry said, okay, let's wait 6 months, let's re-examine the models and see, but no, technology is just booming. You can't stop it. It's out of the box.
I'm curious, as you talk about AI replacing a lot of human jobs, the shock to the system, etc., it does come as there's increasing talk across most of the developed world about the birth rate crisis, the lack of replacement of population. Is there a potential upside here to that, given that we're sort of going to be in this holding period of transition, that maybe it's a great thing that we're not that populations are slightly going down? And of course the argument always has been, if you don't replace the population effectively, you can't grow the economy. But is there are you looking at that trend line here? Because I think more and more, we're seeing the South Koreans are very worried about their population decline. The Japanese, their population decline. Across Western Europe, population decline. What impact that has here?
First of all, you're completely right, and this is a really interesting point to start considering. We have a massive birth crisis all over the world. I'm not sure if you know that, but in North America today, right now, there are more grandparents than grandkids. More people that are 65 years and above than children under 15, and 50% of countries have birth rates which are at all-time low, 50%. So population is we are getting very soon to what we call peak humans on the planet, peak kids and then peak humans on the planet. AI can definitely fall into that and from two aspects. The first aspect, yes, the job market could change. So if we don't have we don't have kids anymore, we don't have productive hands anymore. I'm talking about the next 20 years in life. AI can fill that gap, and we'll have to think a very different social system. Do we really need to work 5 days a week? Not now. Now we do, but do in about 10 years from today, 20 years from today. So I'm no. If you think about it, we invented the weekend only 150 years ago. Up until Henry Ford, we worked 7 days a week. Then we went down to 6 days a week, productivity went up. Went to 5 days a week, productivity went up. Some organizations today, some a little bit working from home, whatever, some already moving to 4.5 days a week, productivity only go up. And that's before the AI revolution. Maybe we should work only 3 days a week. A lot of the stuff that we are doing today will be done by automation AI. 70% of jobs in the US could be replaced by automation, AI, or the combination of automation
Wait,
AI.
I'll repeat that number. 70%, you said?
70%.
70%. 7 out of 10 American jobs replaced today could be.
Could be. Not say it will. I'm definitely not saying it will, but could be. If you think theoretically, drivers in the future, engineers, everything could technically, theoretically, could be replaced with AI, automation, or the combination of AI. So we need to think about all this stuff. So that actually, those two things could definitely help. The second aspect of all of this, AI, from a healthcare perspective, could actually help us. We are seeing today AI for drug development, diagnostics, treatments, everything around that. So if we do have in some areas, some problems around pregnancy, around fertility, around that, today AI gives the solution. We saw drug development in days because of AI rather than years. We saw drug development today. If you want to develop a drug, it's $5 to $6 billion, 10 years, and success rate of 0.01%. 1 out of 10,000 molecules becoming a drug. While we already have the developments, and we saw that, and some companies actually got the Nobel Prize for that, that drug development using AI simulations was done in days, in millions of dollars, even less than that, and 99.99% accuracy. So we're starting to see that. So think about the cost, what it means. So for fertility, pregnancy, everything around that, we are starting to see AI also helping us with the other side. So the question we need to ask ourselves is not, I'm not sure that birth rate is also related to economic progress, related to culture, related to a lot of stuff. But one thing we need to ask ourselves is, because of this AI revolution, what that means for life expectancy. And I'm a big believer that life expectancy is about to boom. So we need to, again, think about it, because I'm a big believer that my generation, we are together here, we will live beyond 100 years old. That's already starting to happen. We're seeing life expectancy, thanks to AI, thanks to technology, improving most of the world. Meaning that we might be very active up until our 80s, maybe even our 90s. Maybe we need to start thinking about the entire system, what that means for pension. Wow, that's scary.
Yeah, because if everyone's going to pension at 65, it was never intended to pay out for decades. In fact, we actually had I think it's the 90th anniversary of Social Security here in the U.S. The life expectancy was 63 when FDR made it 65. People were expected to die before they hit 65 when the system was created.
Yes, and now I can't remember which country just announced on moving to 70 years old. Yeah. I can't remember who was that, but yeah, we need to rethink everything.
You brought up healthcare and the revolution there. One thing you mentioned in the report is GLP-1s. It's been fascinating talking to experts there, because it moved from, obviously, for diabetes now to obesity, but it appears, GLP-1s are this sort of dream drug. They see other uses here for it. Curious, GLP-1s, but also other things that you're seeing that over the next couple of years, we're going to be hearing about more and more.
Of course. So yeah, GLP-1 is now becoming this kind of idea or thinking behind GLP-1 that it actually can depress a lot of needs. Gambling, alcohol, cigarettes, tobacco, everything around that. So I can actually use that not just for obesity, not just for weight loss, but much more than that. Think about what that means. Again, wacky idea out there, like if airline companies will have some kind of a cooperation with GLP-1, and the weight on the airplanes will go down. So there's a lot of wacky ideas here, how you think about it. But now the idea that it depresses needs altogether. So if I can actually expand it dramatically. In the healthcare market, I would start thinking about genomic information. Genomic is the fastest growing database on the planet today. We can all sequence our DNA. It costs nothing. In 2003, to sequence your DNA would cost $2.7 billion. Today, it costs $100 to sequence your DNA. The problem is that sequencing the DNA is so easy, so cheap. It's a lot of information that no one knows what to do with it. But AI can now move all over those databases, those humongous databases, and start mapping DNA, can help with CRISPR technology to create drugs based on DNA, personalized drugs.
So we're talking about customized drugs for you. Like if you and I have similar conditions today, they would prescribe us the same drug. They would say, no, based on your gene information, Haim, we're going to give you this customized version of the drug versus you, Mosh.
Actually, yeah, again, come back tomorrow. We'll have a drug specifically for you, a Haim drug. If I'm developing drugs in days now because of AI and the success rates are so high and the cost is decimal, and it will work. You say it so. You're right. 40% of all antibiotics that we take, 40% completely irrelevant for us. Why? Because those are mass drugs. So you go to the doctor, he prescribes antibiotics, it works, great. Not working, move to the next one, but there's something else. So try and error. But my DNA, my symptoms, my metabolic, everything is very different from each and every person, right? So I can start tailoring those drugs. I can start preparing. If I have DNA information, I can actually start preparing. 97%, 97 of all the drugs and treatment that we are consuming today are by definition treatment. 3% is prevention, 97 go for treatment. But if I have this information in advance, and if I sequence my DNA, I can know exactly which disease I will have in the future, what's going to work for me, what's not, and everything. I can maybe spend 3% on prevention, but so much less on treatment in the future. So this is a revolution that will increase life expectancy. It's a massive revolution.
So I know this is a difficult question. We talked a bit about what governments need to do. What do individuals need to do? And I don't know whether you want to break it down generationally. If I'm a 15-year-old today, if I'm a 25-year-old, if I'm a 45-year-old, given the trend lines that you're seeing, what is the best way for listeners who are curious about, okay, how do I get ready for this next world or the world that frankly we're already in? What should I be doing right now?
So you need to, a couple of things. You need to learn those models inside out. Now, of course, I'm not talking about the algorithms. Only a handful of people understand the algorithms.
Right. You're not recommending that we all become AI engineers, Haim, right?
No, but I do recommend to know the tools inside out, because we're going to use all these tools a lot in the future. Today, we're using the chat GTPs of the world to ask a lot of questions, but no, there's so much more to those agents than just asking questions. So I'm recommending to know them, understand them, learn them inside out, because one of the advantages in the future will be, how do you know how to work with this tool and 100% utilization of this tool X or tool Y, rather than, do I know the Keynes model good, or do I know to do the DCF in the right way? No.
So in practical terms, what does that mean to me today?
That means to be able to go to all those models and start understanding, first of all, which models are coming out, what tools are coming out, and to work with them, experience them, teach them, learn them, how to work and how to increase productivity all the time, to spend a lot of time to know those models inside out. The second thing that I would give an advice is to work on the skills that we will need in the future. And whoever will have social skills will have a huge advantage in the future. So much more than have a straight A in your university diplomas. What's in scarcity? Social skills, creativity, all this stuff. We're all going to use a lot of models in the future. But if those models are based on the same information, it will give us the same results. Who is going to win? The one that can think outside of the box, the one that can program and channel the models to a very different way of thinking. And here's where the human element is very important. Emotions is a scarce resource that we will not have in the future. All those chatbots, but we're going to get there. I would start focusing about that creativity, everything that makes us human. Social skills, emotions, all this stuff, and know those models inside out. Understand what's going on. Be on top of the revolution.
So when you say those models, you mean so I should download Claude and I should download Grok and I should download Perplexity and try out all these various AI models and work on. I mean, one thing that I've been talking to folks about is even in the way that we search for things, it's very different to do a Google search versus an AI search. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes, because the AI search is much more defined to you, is much more tailored for you. The Google search gives you a lot of sites and tells you, sometimes give you a short summary in the beginning based on one site, two sites, maybe that's roughly about it. But AI is sitting on all the information out there, is doing the screening for you, and is tailored to your history, your past, your references, everything around that. The thing is that with AI, I can communicate, I can fine tune it, I can challenge it, and it will reply back to me. It's getting better and better. Of course, there's still a lot of hallucinations, a lot of problems. I can't take it for granted yet. I can't just rely 100% of it, but I can communicate. Think about that. I want to learn about physics today, and I have Albert Einstein in front of me that just say, ask me a question, I'll reply to you, and ask me again, I will reply to you. That's one of the biggest revolution that this AI have made. It made three things that I said, this is the essence of the revolution. It took the cost of intelligence to zero. Think about how much time, efforts, resources, money we spend today to acquire intelligence. Zero. The second point, it democratized data. Everybody have it in the palm of their hand in very, very good way, in very advanced models. And the third element, that it's democratized in a way that everybody can use it. It's an app. Me, my mother, my kids, everybody can start using it now. I don't need to be. This was, if you think about what made the smartphone revolution so big. It's so easy. I just need to press an app. That's it. That's what I need to do. I don't need to go and start programming all this stuff. I can do it in a very different way. This is what AI is all about today.
You looked a few years into the future, but curious beyond that. I mean, is it impossible, or is it? I mean, there's certain trend lines that you're looking at into the 2030s, 2040s that you think are already going to be pretty notable for both governments and the private sector.
Yes. So, well, probably I would touch base on two of them, which we think are going to be huge revolutions. First one is the energy revolution, especially with what we are seeing with the next generation of energy, which is nuclear fusion. For years, the joke with nuclear fusion was that for the last 30 years, it's 30 years away. Not anymore. We're seeing huge progress thanks to AI. So I'm a big believer that in 10 years' time, we'll have very serious discussions about this as the Holy Grail of energy.
So Holy Grail, you mean basically the challenge that has been, our challenge for, centuries is digging up the oil, digging up the gas, digging up the coal, refining it, producing it, creating, of course, the pollution. You think that we will have an energy solution?
Yes, and it's, as I said, the Holy Grail, meaning it's cheap, it's unlimited, and it's 100% clean. And you gave a great example about the oil. Today, we are using, give or take, 110 millions of oil barrels a day to power our planet. If we will all gonna move to nuclear fusion, probably will never, but let's assume we're all moving to nuclear fusion, all we need every day is 6 bottles of water. All over the world, all the planet.
So, by the way, more efficient than AI.
Yeah, that's going to change, because we're not going to need we're not going to need all this energy to power AI. We can do it in a very different way. And then we are moving to the fire moment of humanity, the technology that will change everything, and that's quantum computing. I'm a big believer this is going to be the biggest revolution humanity ever saw. And when you add AI into quantum computing, we're going to get to what we call artificial superintelligence, which is intelligence, which is going to AI, which is going to be smarter than life.
Wait, explain to the average person what is quantum computing versus regular computing or existing
So quantum computing, which by the way, we already have them, but in very early stages today, are computers that can make endless amount of calculations in every single time. Today, all of our computers are based on the traditional ways, which are gates or 0 or 1, and what we call every gate can do two kind of calculations, either yes or no. Yes electricity, no electricity, 0, 1. I'm not going to go into the mechanism, but a quantum computing which work on the subatomic level can make endless amount of calculations. Basically, there are no limits to the amount of calculation they can do. And just to give you an example, couple of months ago, Google, which is one of the companies that are working on a quantum computing, made an announcement that their Willow quantum chip made more calculations in 5 minutes than the fastest supercomputer on the planet will make in 10 decillion years. More than the universe existed in 5 minutes. So think about what that means for humanity, that we have a machine that can calculate everything in 0 time.
It's hard to get your head around it.
It's
hard to
understand
as I sit here talking to you, on software to record my podcast, and then I'll wait for it to upload, and then I'm going to wait for the editor to put it together, and then I'm going to listen to it. To understand the ramifications of the technology that, it's within our lifetimes, it sounds like, huh?
Yes, it's in our life. It's more than that. I think it's in this decade. So it's happening sooner than we all think.
All right. Well, I need to go back to college while it's still useful and get an engineering degree. It sounds like Haim.
Yes, be on top of the revolution. Yes.
All right. Thank you for chatting. This has been fascinating, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you so much.